Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Falcon Live chat with the Center for International Students and Scholars. We are here to answer any questions, give you some information as you are coming in and getting ready for the spring 2021 semester. So we are excited to have you all here today, and I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues in the Center for International Students and Scholars.
Sorry, I had some trouble unmuting there. Good morning, everyone. My name is Brittany, and I am an advisor in the Center for International Students and Scholars, or as we call ourselves for short, CISS. I'll let my colleague introduce herself, and then you'll see the full team in a slide soon.
My name is Anna Garson, and I am a senior advisor in the Center for International Students and Scholars. So welcome everyone today.
Okay, so our agenda for today, we will go over some of the functions of CISS as well as our office staff. So you have a way to put some names to faces, and spring 2021 details. We've gotten a lot of questions about this, and we're happy to be able to share some more concrete details with you around immigration policies and Bentley's policies for students on F1 visas. And then we'll have a question and answer section so that we can speak to you directly and answer some pressing questions you may have. So this is us. Who we are and what we do. We're a team of international student advisors. We do have different titles, technically, our official titles, but we all are here to serve international students and advise you on a myriad of things, mainly immigration focused, but also other ways to navigate your time here at Bentley. And we also provide assistance from before arrival until after graduation. So what that means is a lot of you may have been communicating with me through our GA email about applying for a visa, getting your I-20, collecting your documents for your I-20 to be issued, travel to the US once you enter. We're here, of course, for however long you are studying at Bentley. And then after Bentley, many students do take opportunity to work in the US, and your work authorization comes through our office as well. So we get to stay in contact with you even after you are a graduate of this institution. Some stats below, you'll see we have 826 international students on campus. That is both graduate and undergrad. They represent 75 countries. 14% of the undergraduate population is comprised of international students, and 23% of the graduate population is comprised of international students. Our team. So you'll see first, we have Nia DeYoung, who is our director. Anna, who introduced herself earlier, is our Senior International Student and Scholar Advisor. I'm next to her, Brittany again, and I'm an international international student advisor, excuse me. Terry, who is our administrative coordinator, and when we are able to be back in the office, Terry is usually the first face you'll see of the office. She helps us with everything, and she definitely helps you all reviewing documents, answering phone calls, and many emails. And last but certainly not least, we have our student staff and interns, and they help also in collecting documents and explaining different things to you all about the process. Many of them are international students themselves, so they have a firsthand knowledge of our office's functions and how different things at Bentley work. So how can CISS help? Some examples. Arrival and immigration registration. So once you arrive in the US, you will, because we are virtual with everything happening around COVID-19 right now, our immigration registration is also virtual. So you will receive an email. Please pay attention to your Bentley email. You'll receive an email, and that will give you information about how to fill it out. You will need to get certain documents to provide to us just so that we can let the government know that you have arrived safely and that you've started your studies. So more information to come around that. Immigration advising. Many people, I'm sure, have been following different policies that have changed and exceptions that have arisen because of COVID-19. Some of those we will answer in the next section, excuse me, with Anna. Others definitely, I'm sure, will come up during the Q&A. But do know that we stay on top of all of the immigration policies that change. We take time to analyze any policy changes and think about how they will affect you as students. So whether you're a graduate student, undergraduate student, depending on what countries you're coming from, really making sure that we can advise you accurately to make the best decisions possible. The third point, I already mentioned a little bit, talking about employment opportunities. You can work on campus with an F1 visa as soon as you arrive. So definitely you can contact our office about information on applying for jobs. We do have a lot of information about that on our website as well. And then off campus, OPT usually is an authorization people apply for after or upon graduation. So as you're in your final semester of your time at Bentley, and CPT is for your internship. And that is connected to an academic course. We work closely with your internship coordinators and your academic service advisors so that we can make sure that you are getting the academic side, and then we help you with the work component so that you can complete an internship connected to a company outside of Bentley. Travel guidance, we are keeping on our toes on all of the changing travel guidances as well, based on our country and our state. As some of you may know, if you entered the US and Boston was not your first port of entry, if Boston was not your first US city that you entered, there's different guidance based on COVID-19 and sometimes other immigration things. So we are here to help you through those, navigate those situations. Cultural adjustment. Lots of things going on. We have opportunities in our office. One I will point out is called the Worldview Program, where you have an opportunity to share your home culture with some of your colleagues and classmates here at Bentley, as well as learn more about the different cultures that are represented here in the United States. And then a resource referral. Always happy to connect you with other offices on campus that can better assist you in different needs you may have.
Great, thank you, Brittany. So I am going to take over here and discuss some of the details for the spring 2021 trimester. So specifically as they have to do with some of the changing regulations. So I'm going to ask for Brittany's assistance in flipping through. So firstly, travel. So right now, as many of you know, travel is restricted from certain countries, and there are added difficulties in terms of where you can pass through in order to arrive to the United States, different quarantine requirements, visa restrictions. So right now, consulates and embassies are issuing visas. They are doing so in a reduced capacity, but we have had many students who have been able to obtain their F1 visas. So we recommend, if you're having trouble getting an appointment, that you reach out directly to the consulate or embassy, and also to learn, which ones are operating near you. Travel restrictions. So we have information on our website about how to find the most recent information. We generally refer students to a government website called travel.state.gov which gives information from the United States government about certain requirements that you need to follow as you enter the United States. Also, there will likely be a quarantine procedure at Bentley, just as there's a quarantine procedure to enter the United States or a testing requirement. So that information will be shared with you in the coming weeks as we learn more. Also, as many of you know, you received a document called a Form I-20 that was used to obtain your visa, and that will also be used for you to enter the United States. There's no need for you to receive anything new or a supplement letter in addition to that I-20. That is all that you will be needing along with your F1 visa in order to enter. We did share those with you electronically. So right now the government is temporarily allowing electronic issuance of documents. So for you all, that just means that you would download that document and print and sign it and have it ready for when you come to the US. So as many of you know, there have been many changes over the past 9 months or so. So generally there are F1 visa requirements, which give requirements for students on, or international students on student visas about their, what they can do academically, essentially what is permitted by visa regulation. Because of COVID-19, some of those requirements, some of those regulations had to change. So usually there are limits on online course requirements, where you can physically be located. But again, because of the current situation, some of these have been modified. So right now, we have been given permission by the US government to continue to use the temporary changes that were allowed for the fall semester. So some of these changes are that new students, new students as always can take classes from the US or abroad. So that means that you don't have to be within the US. However, if you are not in the US, you do not initiate or begin your F1 status. So you are permitted to take classes outside of the US, but you will not start your visa status, that F1 status, until you enter on that I-20. Students who are entering the US need to be in a full course load. So that is actually always a requirement. It continues to be a requirement. So for undergraduate students, that means 12 credits. It's different, it's a little bit different for graduate students, which is 9 credits, but undergraduates, 12 credits. So you have to remain enrolled in those 12 credits for the course of the semester. New students, for all of you, you can take online and hybrid courses. That is temporarily permitted. However, you have to have at least one hybrid course that has an in-person component. So that means that you are physically in that course for part of the time. So we tell students to attend 50% of that course in an in-person capacity, and that allows you to meet this requirement. So again, it's okay if most of your classes are online or hybrid, as long as at least one of those has an in-person component. If you are a CVIS transfer student, so if you are perhaps coming from another school, maybe from a high school or transferring from another university, you are allowed to take classes fully online if you were a full-time student back in March, so March 2020, when this regulation was released. So it's a little different for you if you are a CVIS transfer student and you want to contact us so that we can explain to you more in depth about the details as it relates to CVIS transfer students. Please feel free to contact us. So also all of this information and more you can find on our website. So bentley.edu/CISS. We have an FAQs section, or frequently asked questions section, that goes through different scenarios depending on your specific situation and answers some common questions that you may have.
And I just want to add on under the first point, I want to highlight that we are asking you to arrive in the US by February 1st. You'll notice this is after the date that classes are set to begin, but this does allow us still time to register you in our immigration registration that I mentioned before. So just keep that date in mind, February 1st. That may mean that you do start some of your studies outside of the US online, but again, physically arriving in the US by February 1st.
Great. So to go into a little bit more detail, you are permitted to take classes from anywhere in the world in any format. However, it does have implications for your visa status. So it is perfectly fine and understandable if you are unable to make it to the US to study this semester. Again, each of these scenarios, so whether you study full-time, part-time, outside of the US, inside of the US, does have different implications for your visa status. So the first scenario, which allows you to begin your F1 status, is for you to take a full load of classes inside the US. And as we discussed, that can be in any format, but you need to have at least one of those courses with an in-person component. You can take a full load of courses outside of the US, which means that you maintain your student status. So you will still be a Bentley student. You will still receive communications from Bentley University, but you will not be in F1 status. So you will not be considered a new F1 international student yet until you, in a future semester, decide to come enter the US and begin that F1 status. You can also take a partial load of classes outside of the US. So because the full-time requirement is specific to F1 status, and you will not be in F1 status if you are not within the US, it is okay to be part-time, as long as you are remaining outside of the US. If you choose to study remotely for spring 2021, so studying from your home country or elsewhere, or you had planned to, but you are unable to arrive by that February deadline that Brittany was mentioning, we will defer your I-20, so your F1 start date, to the next semester or the future semester when you plan to enter the US. It's important to keep in mind that F1 status, so you, again, it's your ability to be in the US to study, but it also has certain other implications. So you also must be in F1 status, for example, for an academic year before you are eligible for certain work benefits that are associated with the student visa, so CPT and OPT, which we will not go into in detail today, but that is one thing to keep in mind, that you will not start accruing or you will not start accumulating eligibility for those until you're able to actually enter the US. Some common questions. So again, a late arrival, many students, again, due to the travel restrictions, due to testing requirements, visa delays, for any reason, may not be able to arrive exactly for the start of classes, which is okay. But again, February 1st is our deadline for new students to arrive if you plan on taking classes from within the US. You also should be in contact with housing if you do have an on-campus housing assignment, so that you can discuss any delays in your arrival. Hybrid courses, so again, we already discussed this. You must have at least one course with an in-person requirement. The impact of the trimester system. So some of you may know that Bentley had a semester system, and then they announced that they were going to trimesters with a summer full-time study would be offered. Please note that none of these changes will affect your requirements as an international student. This summer 2021, there may be additional courses offered, which you are eligible to take, but summer is still considered a vacation period, so you are not required to take courses in the summer. Fall and spring semesters are still the semesters during which you're required to be a full-time student. So health insurance, if outside of the US, So if you are within the US, you are required to have proof of health insurance. If you will not be taking courses from within the US this semester, there is a form that you need to complete so that insurance can be waived for you and you will not be billed for it. So you can always contact us and we can refer you to the appropriate office so that you can complete those forms. So we do have some questions, and anyone who has any additional questions can also use the question and answer function to submit them.
All right. Well, thank you, Anna and Brittany. I think we do have one question coming in right now. So if as international students, due to visa appointments, we can only arrive mid to the end of January, can we still have housing? So I'm happy to take that one. If you are, because move-in date at this point today is December 18th, so all of this information is up to date as of December 18th. So more information should be coming out in the next few weeks, if not today, about what move-in is going to be looking like in January. So once that information comes out, please reach out to the housing email account, which is housing@bentley.edu. You can also check the Back to Bentley website, which always has up-to-date information, and you can go and take a look there. So at this point, my broad answer would be yes. If you were given a housing assignment and did sign your contract, you have a room that is reserved for you, but you may need to work with housing to determine billing and letting us know when you will be arriving. Let's see. I think we talked a little bit about taking online courses outside of the US, but if someone is looking to take their full course load outside of the US, is that possible, or would they need to defer? Can they defer? I think they're looking for a little bit of, can they take the full course load internationally if they are a new student?
So yes, you can take a full course load from outside of the US. As we talked about earlier, it just has an impact on your F1 status. So if you choose to study online, you won't have the ability to come into the US on your F1 visa at a later point in the semester, nor will you be accumulating your eligibility for any student visa related work benefits. So that's perfectly possible. Another thing to keep in mind is that courses will be offered synchronously and asynchronously. There are different formats for the courses. So that's something that's important to keep in mind, that if you are not in the time zone, the same time zone as Bentley University, is Eastern Standard Time for the East Coast of the United States, then it could be difficult for you to maintain a full course load depending on where you are. It could mean waking up at unusual hours or having to complete assignments at unusual times. So those are some things to keep in mind, but you are absolutely welcome to enroll in a full course load from outside of the US.
And yeah, I'll take on the deferral part. So something to keep in mind is that an academic deferral will mean that you are not taking classes for the semester that you intended to begin at Bentley, and you are actually going to begin your full, course of study, your full program being a Bentley student at a later date. So what we are seeing from a lot of students is that they're kind of having what we've termed an I-20 deferral. So as Anna mentioned before, you may begin your classes online during the semester. So say for the spring 2021 semester, you start studying online. You are online for the full semester. For Bentley academic purposes, you have not deferred, but for CISS and immigration and F1 proceedings and policies, You, again, as Anna mentioned, have not started your F1 visa status, so we would need to issue you a new Form I-20 with dates for the fall semester. And I will take this opportunity also just to share that we do only issue I-20s for new students during the fall and spring terms, fall and spring semesters. So although we do have an option of summer study, which again, as Anna mentioned, you can study from outside of the US with the more courses that will be offered now this summer. However, you would not be able to begin your F1 status during the summertime.
All right, I'm not seeing other questions come in. Brittany or Anna, are there any other things that you wanted to throw out, or any other frequently asked questions that you might feel are helpful right now?
So I would say keep checking your Bentley email. So as you know, regulations change. This is also, we are experts in F1 visas. You are not expected to be an expert or know everything about the new regulations. So please feel free, if you have any questions or need to clarify a doubt that you have, please reach out to us. The best way to reach us is usually at our email, ga_ciss@bentley.edu. I also want to highlight again the section of our website that has many frequently asked questions. So again, more information than we were able to cover in this presentation today. So I highly recommend that you go to our website, bentley.edu/CISS, so that you can read through those and learn more about some of the requirements for the spring semester.
And I would just leave you with a couple of things, just I think that are worth repeating. Again, if you can arrive by February 1st, really keep that in your mind. That's great. Arrive by February 1st, you're all set. As Anna said, please do email us if you do have questions. For the deferral piece, I know it can be confusing, so please again, reach out to us and email us if you have questions around that. One important thing I would ask is that if you are able to get a visa but not arrive on time, please just include that in an email. That will really help us in issuing your new updated I-20. That would be really helpful to know that you already have a visa. And then lastly, I'm going to plug what Tyler just mentioned, which is the Back to Bentley website. CISS also shares information in that area, and it's a really great resource to have all of the different centers and offices around campus come together and give you really specific information regarding all of the changes and different policies that have occurred because of COVID-19. It's a nice dashboard, it's very easy to read, and it's where the most up-to-date information will be for the entire Bentley community. So please check out Back to Bentley when you have a chance.
Great, thank you. And to wrap up from the orientation and new student program side of things, a few housekeeping items for us. So starting this next Tuesday, so December 22nd, you should be receiving an email with a schedule of orientation and what it will look like in January. So keep an eye out if you're looking for the schedule of when you can anticipate getting used to Bentley, meeting new people, as well as course registration and any other needed sessions to come to Bentley. So that should be coming out December 22nd. Our first orientation session is going to be Monday, January 11th from 8:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, with registration for courses being the next day on January 12th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And so please make sure that you are looking at your emails. I think as we've alluded to, your emails are going to be very important at this time. So move from your personal emails to your Bentley emails, as you'll be getting a lot of information from there. So starting January 8th, you'll be getting daily emails from orientation with information on orientation things and new student programs. So please make sure that you are checking those emails, registering for orientation, and we are very excited to have you very soon. I know there are still questions to be answered, but if you need anything, this is our contact information. Please reach out to any of us, and we are happy to help where we can. And that being said, we hope you all have a great rest of your day, and we will talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye. Looking forward to welcoming you.
Bye, everyone.